Okay, today I am going to talk about sinus washing. So many people have heard about the neti pot where you pour water into one nostril and it comes out the other side. While this is, I guess, better than nothing, it's completely ineffective at really clearing our nostrils. So one of the contributors to under eye bags is that this tissue right here where your sinuses are, and it's a really good idea to Google images of the sinus cavities so you know how far back they go, where they're located. But this area will get just a little bit swollen, and what's in there is mucus, bacteria, fungus, environmental toxins, who knows what, because if you haven't been washing your sinuses your entire life, there's a lot in there. It's supposed to be self-cleaning, but it really isn't. And what you see, and I'm seeing this in so many of my students and my friends, that they're actually breathing the majority through their mouth. So the nose isn't working. Now, a guy named James Nestor wrote a book called Breathe. I highly recommend that. It's a really excellent piece of work to understand more about this. But I'm going to show you how to clear it in the way that we as yogis have been washing our sinuses. We also do the thread where we do sinus threading, but you have to do this technique first. Now, what happens is you're going to inhale the water up one nostril, but instead of it coming out the other, we're going to keep sucking until it goes all the way back and it falls out our mouth. Now, for a lot of people, this seems really, really scary, but remember when we were kids and our parents made us brush our teeth and we hated it and you didn't want to do it? Well, now you, I hope, brush your teeth. And if I told you no more teeth brushing, you would be quite upset. So this is one of these things that once it becomes a part of your day to day, you can't imagine how to live without it. The other thing that happens is that if you're not breathing through your nose, your breath will be short and shallow. I mean, it's going to go into the upper lungs because breathing through the nose, the slight uh, tension created as the air goes through your nose requires your diaphragm to draw it in. So you'll see that the breath changes completely when you're breathing through your nose as opposed to breathing through your mouth. When you breathe short and shallow, this will lead to anxiousness, stress, um, kind of a feeling of being out of sorts a lot of the time because you're not able to get the full oxygenation and to clear out all of the other gases powerfully enough. You're not using your lungs. So this is an essential part of being able to breathe well, is that we restore the ability of the nose to breathe. So how we do this is I recommend twice daily sinus washing, and I'm going to show you the technique. But before we get to that, I do it in the morning when I brush my teeth and the evening when I brush my teeth before bed. I'll also demonstrate if you begin doing this and you're in a dry area and your sinuses get dry, what we do for that. So this is very different from the neti pot. A lot of people, when they do it, they have all kinds of fears of drowning. I want to address this right out of the bat. You're not going to drown. Yeah, it's just, it feels like that. So for some people, this can be very intense. It's worth it to overcome that. And you'll see that when I do it, I'm completely relaxed. It's the most peaceful, normal thing. The reason that this works is when you inhale the water, you're going to be leaning over. So it's nearly impossible to pull it into your lungs or your throat unless you really do something wild and crazy and unnecessary. So just be calm and be still and know that you're clearing out possibly decades, an entire lifetime of congestion and fungus and bacteria. And this is going to slowly, over a couple of weeks as you do this will decompress. And part of that is you're going to get a little water stuck in the cheeks. It will come out at very awkward moments. So it's a good time when you're doing this, carry a scarf. I like to be very honest. It will happen, but this is a good sign because it goes in here and it begins to solvate fungus, bacteria into the salt water, and then it's rinsed out as you progressively do this. So it will get stuck a little bit in the beginning. I've noticed with most people, this whole cycle of change lasts about 3 weeks. But I mean, if you have a really bad condition here in the sinuses, could be longer, but it's still better to deal with it. Oh, and the other thing that happens if you don't breathe through your nose. So if you breathe perpetually through your mouth, your nose will actually become that will become more narrow and the face will become longer and narrower. This affects the the hard palate here, the one at the top of the mouth, it will also become more narrow, which will cause even more breathing problems. So this is called bone migration. There's tons of studies about this. It's not something that I'm making up. I recommend you look into it because this is one of these things that not only changes how your face literally looks physically, it changes how you feel because you're breathing. The engine is running. You feel much more alert, much more awake, not anxious. Yeah, stable, zen, alive, and it's going to keep your face in a much better condition as far as the bone structure, and you'll sleep better. So a lot of people are using the CPAP machines. I recommend trying this and seeing if maybe the respiration can get better. All right, so the basic technique, I'm going to take a little bowl of warm water. You can use distilled or filtered, or if you're somewhere where the tap water is clean, be aware of that. And then I'm going to take sea salt. Now, I particularly like to use Himalayan pink salt. So I just buy kind of a big thing like this on Amazon. Any sea salt will work, but make sure you don't use iodized salt, table salt, which comes from crude oil. That will not work out well. So, and if you happen to be traveling, you need to wash your sinuses and you don't have any sea salt, it just, it's not as smooth. You can still do it because it's better to keep our sinuses clear. So next I'm going to put that in and it's better to have a little too much salt. Yeah. So a couple of shakes. I guess this is probably like a teaspoon. You want to make sure that it's salty like ocean water. Then now the technique that I do, I'm going to lean forward. Now I happen to have a, a pot here to catch the water. So I'm not just like leaking onto it. I recommend you do this. I do it in the bathroom sink or oftentimes in the shower. You're going to do it leaning over a sink. It's the easiest. And your first time, you're probably going to need to do at least 3 bowls. Okay. All right. So we'll take this. You're going to close one nostril, and then I'm going to begin inhaling up the other nostril. Now, in the beginning, it's quite possible that it won't even go through. This is normal. And what you'll do is you'll keep trying, and you'll do the other side, then gently blow your nose, trying not to push it into your ears, although sometimes it happens. This is not a perfect process. You're learning something new. So be as gentle as you can, but be thorough. Okay, so then you'll try blowing your nose, and then you'll repeat the process again until finally a little bit of the water will thread through. Now, if the water doesn't move through your nose, for sure your mouth breathing because very little or any air is going through. So it's definitely something to be addressed. All right, so I'm going to lean in. I'm going to put my nostril here, and then I'm going to inhale using suction. At that point, my lips will be closed, and then when the water gets back up to the back of my throat, it'll naturally, because of gravity, fall out my mouth and into the pot. All right, here we go. And I'm going to switch sides. Now, my sinuses are pretty clean because I do this every day, but yours might not be. And it's better out than in. So when you first do this, I've been doing it a long time. So do your best to just not make a drama of it and not panic. And then just remember, lean far enough over because if you're upright and your head's up, it's going to go back and down. You're going to get tense. You're going to get stressed. And the first couple of times you do it, because it won't go so fast, you may need to pause, take a break, and breathe naturally. Because when you're kind of inhaling it, you're not getting a full cycle of breath. You'll start to feel out of breath, and that'll stress the system, meaning that you'll think that it's because of the practice, but it's just because of the duration and the fact that you're learning something new. Now, I find this practice of sinus washing to be incredible, life-changing. It'll pull stuff out of the whole face. But in the beginning, most people don't like it. Um, I loved it the first time I did it because I had such a problem of infected sinuses that I was just amazed that I finally found a solution. Um, I highly recommend doing this. It will change so much in your life that you didn't know. Like, I can't imagine going through life without my nose working. And then here, I have a little bit of sesame oil. So if you're in a dry climate or you happen to have a cold and you're using this is great if you have any kind of sinus infection. Um, uh, so wash it a lot, but then you might feel that your nose starts to get a little dry. So we just take a little sesame oil and you could just rub it there and then and just inhale it a little bit. And that'll help to keep hydrated. And sesame oil is a wonderful oil, not toasted unless you want to smell like, delicious Asian food. That's your prerogative. I'm using untoasted, just a basic cold pressed sesame oil. So if you found this video useful, let me know because I can make more educational ones. If you have any questions where you see this video, make a comment and let me know. I tried to be as thorough as possible, and it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but it's really, really worth it. All right. Namaste.